Okay, so on problem number 10, it asks you to find the slope of the line through each pair of points. So in order to find your slope, you are going to subtract your x's on the bottom and subtract the y's on the top. So here are your two y values. Remember, you can put yours in the opposite order that I put mine, as long as both of you, like you would have to have -5 minus -9 on the top, and then on the bottom, you would have to have -9 minus -19. So both of yours would have to be flipped around in comparison to what mine say. Y's over x's.
So you could do them backwards?
Yes.
Which one is it?
The one in the middle? The middle of the table? Middle of the table. Okay, forward. Right there. No, right. It should be right there in front of you.
Oh, here?
Yes. There it is. Middle of the table. Okay, so if you have -9 minus -5, what do you get? No.
You got it. Positive 4.
Well, I'm going to get -4. You're going to get +4. Okay, because you went the other way. And then on the bottom, I'm going to get -10 and you got +10. Okay, so two negatives do make a positive, but then 4/10 reduces also. 2/5. Yep. So if you did it my way, there are two negatives, so you'd have to turn it positive. If you did it the opposite direction, both of those would have been positive to start with. No matter what, you still have to reduce at the end. Okay, so all it said was to find the slope. So once you find the slope, that problem's done. Now in the next section, for 11 and 12, it says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. So at some point, we are going to have y equals mx plus b, and we're probably going to have to do like a plug and chug, okay? So for the first one, here's our x, here's our y, and they want it to be parallel to this line. Parallel means same slope. So if this slope is -3, we are also going to be using -3 as our slope. Okay? So you start with y equals mx plus b. And we are going to plug in the y, the m, and the x, and we're going to solve for b. Which number is y? The 5. The m? -3. And then the x, -1. So you put the -1 in parentheses next to the -3 because you'll end up multiplying those two together. And then you just leave plus b in the equation, okay? So after you plug in, the second part is go ahead and multiply those two numbers together. So -3 times -1, +3. And then your last step is to move that number to the other side. So you'd want to get rid of the 3 by subtracting it. And you end up with a b value of 2. 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, now that's not the end, because the end, the very last thing you're supposed to do is write the equation. So I'd put y equals, the slope was -3, so you put -3x, and then whatever your b was, that's what you finish with. So -3x plus 2. That's the answer to number 11. So when they're parallel, you use the exact same slope that was given. Now we're about to do the perpendicular one. So it's going to essentially be like the exact same process I just did. The only thing is when it's perpendicular, even though this says 1/8, we are not going to use 1/8. What are we going to do to that slope? Two things. What do we do when it's perpendicular? What do I do with this? You flip it and you change it to its opposite sign. So right now it's positive, I'm going to make it negative. And if I flip 1/8, what do you get? Well, you have to flip it. So just -8, right? So we are going to use -8. They used 1/8. So you don't need that equation for anything else. You just use that equation they gave you to find your slope. But then moving forward, we have x, y, m. We're going to do our plug and chug. So 5 equals no, hang on, look, -8, and then we know x is -1. Yeah, the only letter that should be left in there is B. So then we would multiply -8 times -1, and then we would subtract the 8 since it's positive. -3. So we have a slope of -8 and a y-intercept of -3. So it's y equals -8x minus 3. That's your final answer. That's the equation they're looking for. Okay, now down at the bottom, they want you to write an equation of the line also, but this time they didn't give you the slope. They didn't tell you, here's an equation of a line, I want the parallel one or the perpendicular one. So if they have not given you the slope, basically what we're going to do is we're going to do what we did on number 10. We're going to find the slope first, and then we're going to do a plug and chug like we just did here. Okay, so it's still essentially the same thing. I mean, we're not really changing a whole lot. We need to start by finding our slope. What are the two y values that would be up top?
5.
Okay, so 5 and 1. I always go this way, but you guys can put 5 minus 1. I'm just doing 1 minus 5. And so on the bottom, mine would have to go -4 minus 0. So 1 minus 5, -4 for me, depending on which way you guys set it up. The bottom is also going to be -4. So you might have +4 over +4. I have two negatives, but either way, we're still going to get a positive what? +1. So our slope is 1. Okay, so that's the first part. Now, you guys have to pick an ordered pair. Do we all have to use the same ordered pair? No. You can use either the 0, 5 or the -4, 1. I'm always going to choose the one that has a 0 if that's an option, because it's just easier to plug in. So this is x, this is y, and then this over here is m. So I would put the 5 where the y is, the 1 where the m is, and then x, you're going to plug in a 0 and leave the plus b in there. So this would be 0. So it's just 5 equals B. Yep. So then our final equation, y equals the 1 would go in front of x, and then the 5 would go at the end. So 1x plus 5. Good? Okay, flip it over, because now we're going to do some graphing. And graphing is a pretty big part of your guys' final. Like, you're going to see several different types of graphs. Couple things to keep in mind, so make sure you guys pay attention, because this has been like the more recent stuff you guys have done. If you see an equal sign, it's just a solid line all the time. There's no shading. But when you guys see, when you see these inequality symbols, like starting on number 17, then you have to start worrying about, is it solid or is it dashed? Do I shade this way or do I shade that way? Okay, but since right now we're just dealing with equal signs, this is standard form, and we cannot graph it if it is in standard form. So you guys will need to change that to slope-intercept form first. And remember, that's 2 steps. What is the first step? Move the x. So if this is a 3x, we're going to subtract the 3x from both sides. Okay, now when you do that, this is negative 4y. You bring down your equal sign, and then these 2 terms do not pair up. You have to write them sideways. Like, you can't do negative 4 minus 3 because one has an x and one doesn't. So we just put the negative 3x first, and then you put the minus 4 second. Okay, so that's step 1 is moving your x term. What is step 2? By which one? The negative 4. You are going to divide all 3 terms by that negative 4 to get the y by itself. And whatever I'm about to get in this box, this is our answer. This is the equation that we will end up graphing. Okay? All right, 2 negatives make, and 3/4 does not reduce. So you would write that as 3/4 x. And then right here, negative 4 divided by negative 4. Divide. Positive 1. Now it's in slope-intercept form, so now you guys can graph that. What's the starting point? 1. Starting point is right here at the 1. And then when we have a positive slope, where do we go? Up, right. So you're going to count up 3, right 4. You can only do that once. So then what do? If you run out of room going up and right, we're going to go back to our starting point and go down and left. So make sure you guys count those. Go down 3, left 4. And put your other point. So you can't, I mean, there's only 3 points that fit, but that's better than 2. So you want to plot every point that fits and then connect them with a ruler and extend it. Are we good? Everybody have that down? Okay. Then down here on 15, good news is at least they're both already in slope-intercept form. So when they give you two of them, we are just going to graph each one separately, and we're looking to see where they cross. Okay, so starting point here is positive 2, and the slope is positive, so we're going up 1, right 3. You can only do that once. So then you want to go down 1, left 3. Okay, now the second one, I'm going to start at -2. The slope is still positive, so we're still going up and right. We're just now going, bless you. We are just going to go up 5, right 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So there you run into one of the points that we had already plotted. Now we cannot go down 5 and left 3, but we don't really need to. Since we already can see where the two lines cross each other anyway. So we just need to write down what that ordered pair is. Now the good thing about that ordered pair is you can't mess it up. Some of you guys are putting the y first, then the x. When you write ordered pairs, it's always the x first, then the y. But since they're both 3s, this one you can't really mess up. But if they cross, you have to put the ordered pair of where they cross each other. So the answer here is 3, 3. You guys done with that one? You just have that all written down, drawn. Okay. Go ahead and flip it over to number 16. Okay, so for number 16, it's still an equal sign. It's a whole number for the slope, so just make sure you stick a 1 underneath that for the slope. But we're going to go ahead and start at -1. And then for your slope, since it's negative, where do we go? Down right. Yep. So you're going to start here, you can count down 2, right 1, and you can do that twice. And then I would go back to your starting point and go up to left 1. You can do that 3 more times. Mm-hmm. Okay, do we all have that one down? That's the end of graphing equations. Now it switches to inequalities. Okay, so a couple things. First of all, this symbol right here, less than. There is no equal sign. So that will end up being a dashed line. Okay, I like to figure this out before I plot anything. Also, because it's less than, do we shade above or below? You shade below. So those are the two things you need to pay attention to. Okay, now it's already in slope-intercept form, so we can go ahead and plot the 4. You know, put your starting point at that 4. And we have a whole number slope of 3, so, you know, stick a 1 underneath it since it's whole. So we're going to go, supposedly we're supposed to go up 3, right 1. We don't have the room, so where do I need to go instead? Down 3, left 1. Down 3, left 1, down 3, left 1. So you can do that to where you have a total of 4 points. Oh no, see, look at what I just did. This is why you have to take your time with these and use pencil. This is supposed to be a dashed line. It's supposed to be dashed. Remember, that's why I wrote that down. Just go in there and try to make little dashes. There we go. Let's try that again. You still want to put your ruler down. You just want to make sure you make dashes instead of making that a solid line. And then we said that it's supposed to be shaded below. So is it over here to the left or over here to the right? So you just want to do some light shading, just as long as I can tell that this is the side that you guys shaded. You guys need to focus. You got your final tomorrow. All right, questions, anything before we go to the ones on the back? Okay, flip it over. We've got 3 more problems to do. We have a system of inequalities. So we're going to end up plotting both of those. That top one will be dashed because there's no equal sign. And it's greater than, so that gets shaded where?
On top.
Above.
No, it's above. We're going to shade above. And then the other one, that one has an equal sign, so that one will be solid, and it's less than, so it's shaded below. Okay, so I am going to plot these separately. I'm going to start with the top line, make it blue, and then the bottom line I'll make green. Okay, we're not looking for just one ordered pair of where they cross. We're looking for a section of where the shading would overlap. So we're going to do each one individually, and then we'll worry about the shading. Okay. All right, so starting at -3. If your slope is +5, where do we go? Where do we go? Up 5, right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Now that is the only other point that'll fit. When your slope is that big of a number, sometimes that's all you can get to fit. Now we said this one is the dashed one, so make sure when you put your ruler down, make dashes. Don't mess up like I did and make a solid line. And then I'm going to put the letter A next to that, just reminding me that I'm supposed to be shading above that line. Good? Okay, then for the other one, we're going to start at 1 and your slope is 1 over 1. Yep. So if your slope is positive 1, we're going up 1, right 1. So immediately we get it to cross here, but you would still want to go ahead and plot as many points as you can. I would also go down and left, because remember, even though they cross at a point, we're not looking for the point of intersection. So you want to make the line all the way. And that one is supposed to be solid. So you guys have a solid line, a dashed line, and the green one is supposed to get shaded below. So I want you guys to look up here because we need to talk about where the shading is going to be. You have a 25% chance of getting it right, even if you were to just guess a section. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to number my sections. So everybody look, please. I made this bigger section over here, 1, this tiny triangle up here, 2, this is section 3, and this is section 4. If we were to just look at the green line, is below this line 1, 2, or 3, 4? 3, 4. And if I looked at the blue line, is above the blue 1, 4, or 2, 3?
2, 3.
Above it? You guys, if your arm was like this, where's above? 2, 3? Or 1, 4? 1, 4. So isn't the 4 the section that overlaps? So you guys would just go in here and shade this triangle. All right, good there? All right, then 19. I have given you 4 ordered pairs. I want you to tell me the domain. I want you to tell me the range, and then I want you to tell me if it's a function or not and how you know. Okay, so domain. What numbers are the domain?
-1.
So the x's, and aren't they supposed to be least to greatest?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it start with -4, -3, -2, -1? It's okay. Range, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so function would be yes, and because there's no repeating, no repeating x values. Now, if I had thrown another ordered pair on there that was like -4, 7, then you guys would say no, and you wouldn't say one of your x's repeats. You would say that the -4 has 2 different outputs. Okay, so just remember, if one of your x's repeats, when you give me the reason why it's not, you need to tell me the specific reason why it's not. Like, you need to say, this number had 2 different outputs. And then for number 20, oh, I will tell you also, on 19, there's one, I think, where you get ordered pairs like that. Then there's also one where they give you like that mapping diagram. You guys remember the mapping diagram? You'll have like x values over here, and you'll have y values over here, and it'll show you like arrows. And then you'd have to say, so like this one would be 1, 5, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. This would still be a function because all my x's are different. So you will see a mapping diagram also, okay? All right, so then this last problem, it just says complete the table. It says the function is half of x minus 5. So if I give you all the x's, all you guys have to do is this. Are you watching? Half of 10 minus 5. What's half of 10? And what's 5 minus 5? 0. And then you would do half of 12, which is 6, and 6 minus 5 is 1. And you just keep doing that. Half of 14, and 7 minus 5. Half of 16 is 8, and 8 minus 5, 3. You are just changing the x value every single time. Okay, so what's half of 18? What's half of 18? 9, and 9 minus 5, 4. Half of 20 is 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. So you guys will have a function where they're going to give you the x's and they want you to plug in the x's and solve for the y's. No, half of 10, which is 5, and then minus 5. Yeah, you have to do the half of the number first. Okay, and even though I gave you guys the review that had problems 1 through 9 on them, there's really nothing from problems 1 through 9 that are going to be on your final. Okay, so everything we just went through pretty much is everything that is covered on your final exam.